Hey guys, this is part 2 of my review for the Greatest Superstars of Wrestlemania DVD from 2008. And if you haven't seen the first part, there are links below in the description, so click those or copy paste them, whatever you have to do, and go watch that first before you watch this. But anyway, let's get into this one. This too starts off with the same WrestleMania vignette, but they ask, does WrestleMania make superstars, or do the superstars make WrestleMania? Good question. Then they show a Bret Hart vignette about him and his dad's promotion, Stampede Wrestling, and then in the WF with his brother-in-law Jim the Anvil Neidhart as the Hart Foundation. And then, I did not know this, but he beat Ric Flair for his first WWF title. And they talk about the Iron Man match, of course. And then his WrestleMania 13 submission match against Stone Cold. And then they talk about his conflict with his brother at WrestleMania 10. So, the match that they show was him versus Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette in his corner for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 10 back in 1994 at the Madison Square Garden Arena. And the storyline was, back in 1994 Royal Rumble, Bret Hart and Lex Luger won it. Or nobody won it because both their feet hit at the same time. And instead of restarting the match like they did about a decade later with John Cena and Batista, they decide to have both of them be the winners, and they both will face Yokozuna that night. It was Lex Luger versus Yokozuna in the first match, and whoever won that match would go on to face Bret Hart. But Bret Hart was also intertwined, I guess, in a storyline with his youngest brother, Owen Hart. Late great Owen Hart. You know, Owen felt like he was better than Bret and should be the star of the family, not Bret. So those two had a WrestleMania match at the beginning of WrestleMania 10, and Owen actually won that match. And then Yokozuna got knocked out by Lex Luger, but ended up winning his match anyway. So Yokozuna's still champion, Bret Hart challenger. So here we go. Let me start talking. It was Mr. McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary with Rowdy Piper as a special guest referee. And in the first match, so I don't have to mention it later, Mr. Perfect was actually the special guest referee for the Luger-Yokozuna match, but was very partial towards Yokozuna. Lex Luger ended up getting mad, and they had a feud later on in the year. Then Lex Luger ended up going over to WCW because he didn't like his spot. But they had Burt Reynolds as the special guest ring announcer. Yokozuna takes it to Bret. Bret tries to come back, but Yokozuna is just too strong and too big. Yokozuna chokes Bret. Piper counts really fast. It's so obvious now that Yokozuna is Samoan rather than Japanese, now that I'm 26 and not like 6-7 years old thinking he was Japanese. Cornette tried to get involved. Piper clocked him. Bret got a good bulldog from the middle rope for a near fall, followed up by a beautiful elbow drop for a near fall. Yokozuna goes for the, later on Yokozuna gets control again, goes for, not too much later on either. Yokozuna goes for the bonsai drop, loses his balance, falls, hits his head that was injured by Luger earlier, and Bret gets the 3. Really? Really? I gave that match a 4 because it was a horrible ending to a WrestleMania, WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call it at the time, title match. And then Yokozuna chases Piper after the match. This is where the New Generation era started. They don't show this, but Razor Ramon, Lex Luger, and all the other faces come out, and Ramon and Luger actually hoist Bret Hart up until their shoulders and looking up at them. And even on the back of the DVD, if you guys buy it, you can see that Luger is very, very unhappy that Bret Hart won and not him. Then they show The Rock's career and his family's career. His WrestleMania 13 was his first WrestleMania as Rocky Maivia, and he was the youngest Intercontinental Champion. He was a babyface, but everybody booed him and said Rocky sucks. So then they talked about his transformation into The Rock, then into Corporate Rock, and The Rock after that. And then Rock challenged Hogan in 2002. The storyline was that Vince McMahon wanted to kill the WWE or the WWF at the time, since he couldn't have it to himself. He had to share it with Ric Flair. So he's going to bring in something that'll kill it. He's going to bring in a poison known as the NWO. The NWO starts taking out the main wrestlers. They took out Stone Cold, and Scott Hall actually had a match later on that night with Stone Cold for the title. That doesn't make any sense, I don't think. And then The Rock faced Hogan, and this match was known as Icon vs. Icon. Hogan's the heel, Rock's the face. And this was at the Sky Dome, same place that WrestleMania 6 was held at, and it's in Canada. So they replaced the NWO theme music with something, and they redubbed Howard Finkel's voice, because you can hear Howard Finkel maybe half a second to a second behind his voice live. It's funny. JR and the King are on commentary with Mike Chioda as the referee. This is the most famous split cheered match ever. It's down the middle during the beginning, and they have a probably a 2, 3, 4 minute stare down, and it's just the crowd's going nuts. Hogan overpowers The Rock in the collar elbow tie up, then poses. The fans go nuts. Hogan tells The Rock to just bring it, which was The Rock's thing. Hogan shoulder blocks The Rock down and then poses, and the fans go nuts. Hogan tells The Rock, "You ain't nothing to me, boy." Wow, okay. Rock ducks a clothesline and then delivers his classic flying clothesline. Then tells Hogan to just bring it. Hogan shocked. Hogan pushes The Rock. The Rock pushes Hogan back. Rock gives Hogan his classic punches, going to knock Hogan over the top rope, but Hogan botched it and had to roll under the bottom. The Rock then goes for the Rock bottom back in the ring, and Hogan gives him an elbow and takes control. Then the fans cheered Hogan. The Rock spears Hogan down and delivers punches, which Hogan no-sells, and the fans boo Rock. Hogan back rakes The Rock 3 times and the fans cheer. Hogan chokes The Rock with his wrist tape. Oh, by the way, I have to add this in because they kept on saying he's only lost once at WrestleMania, that Hulk Hogan has. He's lost twice. He lost one time at WrestleMania 6 against the Ultimate Warrior. Then he was in a tag match with Bruce the Barber Beefcake versus Money Incorporated, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and IRS Erwin R. Shyster for the tag team titles. And he lost that match. But then he came out later on that night to win the title from Yokozuna. Didn't make any sense. Hogan strips the announcer's table. Rock goes to use the chair, but Chioda takes it away. Hogan hits him with the clothesline. In the ring, Hogan throws The Rock into Chioda, knocking Chioda out. Rock spinebusters Hogan, then sharpshooter. Hogan tries to overpower it, but to no prevail. Gets to the ropes, but Chioda's still down. Rock drags him back to the center of the ring. Hogan taps. Rock finally lets go because Mike Chioda's still out. Then he goes to wake up Chioda, and the fans are chanting, "Rocky sucks." Hogan low blows The Rock, trying to do everything in his power to make these fans boo him, showing them that he's the heel and Rock's the face, but they didn't care. He then rock bottoms Rock for a 2. Kyoto's still not fully awake. He was kind of awake to count that 2, but then he kind of rolls back over. Hogan starts whipping the Rock with his belt. The fans are cheering. Rock gets up, DDTs Hogan, and then whips him. Fans kind of like that. Rock bottom on Hogan for a near fall. Hogan hulks up. He hits the Rock. Big boots him. Atomic leg drops for a near fall. Nobody's sitting at this point. Huge pop. It just, all of a sudden, it just, bah! Like you would have thought, you know, somebody was lit on fire or something. Another big boot. He misses the leg drop. Rock delivers the rock bottom. And nip ups to hit. He hits, put the quotations and the thing, McRae. Thank you. The people's elbow, which seriously, he hit him right here. No effect at all. The fans go nuts. 1, 2, 3. Then after the match, they do another stare down. Hogan extends his hand for a handshake. Rock shakes his hands, and the fans go nuts. They don't show this part either on this DVD, but at that pay-per-view, The Rock and Hogan do the Hogan style pose-off together. And I gave that match an 8.9 because that's one of the only matches in WrestleMania history that lived up to the hype that they gave it. Then they show John Cena's career, his album, his movie The Marine, his days in OVW, then his WWE or WWF at the time, whatever it was. First match against Kurt Angle. Then Dr. Thugonomics, his first WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 20 against Big Show for the US title, and then they also talk about his other WrestleMania wins and stuff like that. So, at this part, he's probably had like, I want to say 4 WrestleMania matches that they could have chose from. And 3 were, or all 4 were for titles. 3 were for the WWE title. But they decided to go with his first title defense, or his first WWE title win. And the storyline was that, like I just said in the other video, you know, Batista won the Rumble and decided to go for Triple H's title since he thought that the whole year or so that he was in Evolution had been about Triple H. So he wanted the title to prove that he could step up. And that left JBL without an opponent. But they had this 8-man tournament at No Way Out, or, you know, going up until No Way Out, the pay-per-view right before WrestleMania. And, Cena ended up winning that, beating Kurt Angle in the finals. And here we go. Taz and Cole are on commentary. JBL has police escorts in front and behind his limo. Also has Orlando Jordan, but he makes him wait in the limo. Then money drops from the ceiling. And at this time, he held that belt for 242 days. He won it at the Great American Bash back in back on June 27th, 2004, up until April 3rd, 2005. Nick Patrick's the referee, and it's also in Los Angeles, because that's WrestleMania 21. WrestleMania goes Hollywood. They trade shoulder blocks. JBL takes control. And JBL pretty much stays in control this whole match with his smash style wrestling. You know, does a swinging neck breaker onto the floor, onto Cena, which I thought was cool. Cena then tries coming back, but since the big boot at the beginning, he really can't. Cena gets 3 out of 4 of his moves of doom at the time because he didn't have the STF or the STFU at the time. But he hits the flying tackle. He hits the sit down powerbomb thing. He hits the you can't see me 5-knuckle shuffle. And then he goes to pump up his kicks like he used to do the FU. Then he goes, runs at JBL. JBL picks up his boot. And then JBL bounces off the ropes for a clothesline from hell. Cena ducks and gives JBL the FU for the win. I gave that a 5. Because, seriously, Cena could have took more control, or they could have had, you know, the match last a little bit longer and have Cena take more control. Then they show Rey Mysterio vignette. Wrestling in Mexico at the age of 15, and then ECW and then WCW. He's held the Cruiserweight title at that point in time 8 times. Then his WWE 2002 debut. His WrestleMania 19 match versus Matt Hardy for the Cruiserweight title, he lost. WrestleMania 20 match in a Cruiserweight tournament, he lost. And then teaming and fighting Eddie Guerrero. And then Eddie dies, unfortunately. You know, Mysterio wins the Rumble in his honor. And so the match that they show us is Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton versus Kurt Angle for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, 2006. Big time. And the storyline was that Rey Mysterio won the Rumble. The last guy he eliminated was Randy Orton. And Randy Orton was so pissed at the time that he didn't win. So he challenged Rey Mysterio to his title spot. At No Way Out, he won the match, but 5 days later, Teddy Long says it'll be a triple threat instead. POD plays Mysterio to the ring. The referee's Charles Robinson. When Randy Orton comes out, they again, because I guess at this time Chris Benoit isn't dead yet. 2006. No, he would die later on that year. They again mention his defeat over Chris Benoit. The match starts off with somebody knocking Kurt Angle to the outside the ring. Rey Mysterio goes to springboard off the middle turnbuckle and gets hit with a beautiful dropkick by Randy Orton. Taz and Michael Cole are obviously doing commentary because it's a SmackDown match. And all these guys at the time were on SmackDown. Kurt Angle German suplexed Orton. And then Rey Mysterio goes to get thrown into the corner, goes to do a move onto Orton, where he turns around, locks his legs around, and then goes to do a bulldog, but Orton puts him down on the ground, and still with his hands around him, and then they both get Germaned by Angle. Crowd goes nuts. It gets hard to see because the pyro from all the smoke from all the pyro of Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio. So it's hard to see what's going on, but I could still see a little bit. Orton sitting up on the top rope. Rey Mysterio smashes Angle's head into Orton's crotch. Then runs to Angle, who tosses him up at Orton, and Mysterio delivers a Hurricane Rana onto Orton. Angle slides Mysterio out the ring and gets a near fall on Orton. Crowd's chanting, "Let's go, Angle." And this is just now 4 or 5 minutes into the match, and they're already bringing down the house. They're trying to steal the show. And then Angle applied the ankle lock onto Mysterio. He tapped out, but Robinson didn't see because Orton tries to bring a chair in. Then Angle does the same thing to Orton. Mysterio distracts the ref while Orton's tapping out. Fans chant, "Let's go, Angle." Angle goes for the Angle slam onto Orton, but he reverses it into the RKO. Mysterio gets the 619 onto Orton. And then the West Coast pop for the 3 while Angle's sitting on the outside of the ring and trying to get back in. But I gave that match a 8. star because of them. It was only a 10-minute match, 10-15-minute match, but them letting Rey Mysterio win and him doing it in honor of Eddie Guerrero, you know, that was great. And then when he's coming up to the thing, you see Chavo and Vicky, and they congratulate him, and they're all crying, and that's just like a heartwarming moment for, you know, anybody. I don't care if you're a wrestling fan or not. Then they have Triple H Vignet talking about his career in WCW as terrorizing. I'll put the spelling right here. Then WWF as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Then DX, Triple H, and the Corporation. And then main eventing at WrestleManias to his knee injury late in 2001, I believe. And then his return was in 2002. Loudest pop ever heard. And then him winning the 2002 Royal Rumble. And challenge and wanted to face the undisputed champion, who at the time was Chris Jericho. And there was a storyline going down where Stephanie and Triple H were getting a divorce and whatnot. So Stephanie's actually with Chris Jericho, not with, but his manager at the time. Drowning Pool plays Triple H down in the ring. And then while Chris Jericho's coming down, you hear the noise of the WWF Undisputed title logo, because it's the WWF and WCW titles at the time, side by side. You hear the noise of what the logo did, but they took out the logo. JR and King are on commentary with senior official Earl Hebner as the referee. Y2J goes right for Triple H's leg, and Triple H then later on gets a Harley Race knee, but hurts his knee badly because he goes for it with the knee that he normally hits it on, but then he's got to land on that bad knee. So, you know, Y2J throws him out the ring and then gets up on the top rope taunting, and then Triple H comes up and throws him from the top rope into the first row of the crowd. That was great. Triple H strips the Spanish announce table, but Y2J kicks the injured knee. Triple H puts a figure 4 on a Y2J in the ring, and then Stephanie rakes his eyes. Triple H then grabs Stephanie, pulls her up onto the apron, and Y2J accidentally spears her. Triple H goes for pedigree on Stephanie after dragging her into the ring, and then Y2J missile drop kicks him from the top rope. And why I call them Y2J and Triple H is because it's easier to say Y2J than Chris Jericho every second. So, and that's why I actually said in the first video too. Y2J then starts telling the story by working on the injured knee, even delivering a figure 4 leg lock on the around the post. And that's, I used to see Bret Hart do that a lot, and I loved when people would do that. I love seeing that now. So wrestlers now do that move more often. Maybe not in every match, but you know, once a week would be nice. Triple H does his face buster with the knee onto Y2J a little later, and then delivers a spine buster for a near fall. Y2J strips the English announce table after blocking the walls of Jericho on the announce table. Triple H goes for the pedigree on the English announce table, but gets back body dropped through the Spanish announce table. Back in the ring, Y2J gets the lion salt for 2 near falls. Triple H goes for the pedigree later on Y2J, but Y2J hits his leg and locks in the walls of Jericho. Triple H tries to power out, can't, then passes out. And they lift up his hand for the, you know, the 3 drops, but his hand only goes down twice, and then he fights back and actually does crawl to the ropes. Y2J grabs a chair but it backfires by Triple H kicking it in his face, and at this time, Stephanie was distracting the ref, so was distracting Hebner. And then Stephanie comes in to hit Triple H with it, but Hebner takes the chair away from her. She pushes him, but then Triple H pedigrees her. Y2J hits him with the chair while Hebner's rolling her body out the ring. And then he goes for the pedigree on Triple H. Triple H slingshots him into the turnbuckle, but Y2J catches himself and then goes for like a springboard, I guess, springboard crossbody, but gets kicked. And then the pedigree for the 3 for the win. I gave that one an 8-star because it's a pretty good match. You know, and if I didn't say that, that was at WrestleMania 18. And that one was... where was that? I believe we had a WrestleMania 18 match. I believe that was in the Sky Dome. I want to say so. I want to say that was on the same match card as the Hogan vs. Rock. Show Stone Cold Vignette, him talking about being in World Classic Championship Wrestling. Then WCW's Stunning Steve Austin teaming with Flying Brian Pillman as the Hollywood Blondes, capturing the tag titles, and then him going on to singles success, capturing the US title. Then in Japan after getting fired from WCW, and then ECW mainly working on his mic skills but still a good wrestler. Then in WWF as the Ringmaster, and then as Stone Cold winning the King of the Ring tournament in 1996, which was awesome. And then his great historic match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Later that year, breaking his neck and feuding with McMahon after coming back. And also, they talk about beating HBK at WrestleMania 14 and facing The Rock 3 times at WrestleMania 15, 17, and 19. JR and the King on commentary, with Mike Chioda refereeing. And before I start this, the story was that they had a match earlier that night to where it was Mankind versus, at the time, Paul White, now known as The Big Show. And whoever won that match got to be the special referee for this match. So, even though Mankind won, he got sent to the hospital. Apparently, something happened, and I'll tell you guys about that later. But anyway, it was for the WWF title back in 1999 at WrestleMania 15. No disqualification match made earlier that night on a Sunday Night Heat by Mr. McMahon in Philadelphia. They go right into it, though. They're all over the arena. The Rock back body drops Stone Cold onto the design of the logo and stuff. And Stone Cold hits his knee pretty hard. They botch a clothesline later. The Rock was supposed to go down, but The Rock went for like a kick to the gut as well, so it kind of messed it up. The Rock reverses a suplex into a suplex of his own onto concrete. Then The Rock spits water into Stone Cold's face. Stone Cold dropped an elbow onto The Rock on the Spanish announce table, but it didn't break, so he went for it again, and then the second time it did. Stone Cold then spits water into Rock's face. Rock works on Stone Cold's knee, telling a good story. Stone Cold throws The Rock back into the stairs. Stone Cold kicks out of the Rock bottom. Stone Cold hits Chioda in the head with the chair because The Rock used him as a shield. Referee Tim White comes down. Rock hits Stone Cold all over his body with the chair, but then mainly works on his knee. Good storytelling again. Stone Cold fights out of the sleeper hold. The Rock hits the rock bottom on Tim White. Stone Cold hits The Rock with a stunner. The Rock oversells it. Referee Earl Hebner comes down and counts for a near fall. McMahon comes down and knocks out Earl Hebner. McMahon and The Rock start stomping on Stone Cold in the corner when Mankind comes down in a referee shirt. And then Stone Cold gets a near fall on The Rock. Then Lou Thesz pressed, followed up by an elbow. Rock bottom onto Stone Cold, but then The Rock misses a people's elbow. Rock blocks a kick, spins Stone Cold around, goes for the rock bottom again. Stone Cold fights out of it, hits a stunner for the 3. And then after the match, Stone Cold had a beer with Earl Hebner, and then Stone Cold and McMahon get into an argument. Stone Cold hits him on the outside, puts him in the ring, stuns him, and then pours beer on him. And I gave that one an 8-star, 6-star for the match, 9-star for the story, so 7.5 overall. Then you got to round up, because I don't like 0.5s. Then they showed the WrestleMania vignette to end it, and that's my greatest superstars of WrestleMania DVD review. Give the whole DVD probably only a 6, because they had some good matches, but instead of Stone Cold versus Rock 1, I would have rather seen Stone Cold versus Rock 3, or Stone Cold versus Bret Hart in submission. Shawn Michaels, great match with Chris Jericho, but I would have rather seen Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10, or Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12. Bret Hart, instead of that WrestleMania 10 match, I would have liked to see the one against his brother, or like I said, against Stone Cold or Shawn Michaels. Batista, they did a good one. Undertaker, they did a good one. Maybe would have rather seen one of the ones against his brother, or maybe when he won the title, one of the few times that he won it at WrestleMania. You know, who else? Rey Mysterio, great for him. Wish they would have put Kurt Angle in there for his own. Y2J, they should have had him, Kurt Angle, and Chris Benoit on there. Period. Who else? Even though they didn't really include Y2J as the main guy. Hulk Hogan, they should have put 6 or 3 on there. The Rock, they should have done Stone Cold 1, or they should have done Stone Cold last. You know, you include all these superstars. You made okay matches. Did I forget anybody? John Cena, they should have did him in the Big Show, said it. But yeah, it was kind of a disappointment. I mean, don't get me wrong, liked it and given it a 6 or 7, but you guys kind of let me down. So for this review, that's it, and I'll see you guys. And yeah, have a great day. Enjoy wrestling. #handicap handsome.